Welcome everyone, this is Andre's Restart, and apparently Nintendo Switch 2 will have no major gimmick, will cost $400, with $70 games, and is still coming out in the year of 2024. Is anything here a big shocker to me? No, it isn't. But this is new information that is coming from one of the most reliable people there are when it comes to learning about things from Nintendo before it's officially been announced. It's coming from Dr. Serkan Toto. And so we'll be breaking all of this down today. But before going forward, let me point out that we are aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers, maybe by the time Nintendo Switch 2 does come out this year. So if you do enjoy my content, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Leaving a like is also super helpful, and enjoy the ride as we talk about Nintendo every day. So where is all this new info coming from? You'll probably be seeing a lot of articles on this, a lot of videos on this, and I do think this is pretty substantial stuff because of who it's coming from. But what I want to make clear here is that these are actually predictions. They are predictions coming from someone who probably knows what's going to happen, but they are predictions. So this someone is Dr. Serkan Toto, a CEO of the Tokyo-based game industry consultancy Canton Games, and they've been known for forecasting and predicting and, well, analyzing things. And they have a pulse on what's going on with the industry, including Nintendo. Some examples of things that they've teased to us before we got an official announcement, and usually it's pretty quickly beforehand, has to do with Zelda. So back in summer 2021, Dr. Serkan Toto teased Z2 2022, and this is alluding to the Tears of the Kingdom trailer that we got for that Nintendo Direct that happened that summer. And then most recently, he put out another tweet that was quickly deleted that said ZR 2023. And it seems that that apparently meant Zelda reveal in 2023, and what happened shortly afterwards, it was revealed to us that Nintendo is working on a Legend of Zelda movie, which is pretty darn big news. So the basic point here, we should probably trust Dr. Serkan Toto, but still take this with a grain of salt because these are his predictions, he's not reporting it necessarily, and until these things are officially announced, and even sometimes when they are subject to change. But this is what he's saying. On GamesIndustry.biz, he put out his predictions, and this is what they read. Switch 2 will come and be $400. The time is finally here for a Switch successor. Even though I can say a Pro model actually did exist and certain developers were already working with the dev kit. I believe the next hardware will drop next year for $400. There is a high chance that games will cost more too, $70. The next system is also likely to be an iteration rather than a revolution. Nintendo might add some bells and whistles to the device, but it will be similar to the current Switch. And because there is Pokemon, and Pokemon is associated with handheld gaming, there is no way on earth Nintendo will drop the portability feature for their next big thing. So when Dr. Serkan Toto says dropping next year, these are predictions for 2024, so he's not trying to say 2025, he's saying 2024. But he's also saying it's going to be $400, and the games will cost $70. And from the pricing perspective here, it's expected. Nintendo already gave us a little bit of a taste with Tears of the Kingdom costing $70, and with where the economy is at and inflation continually happening, and just other games on other platforms costing $70, I think we should prepare ourselves to see $70 games more often. Maybe not every single game, but big ones, yeah, I expect them to cost $70 on Nintendo Switch 2. Now the $400 price tag, when you account for inflation, is actually only a little bit more expensive than what the Switch was valued at back in 2017. Yes, it was $300, but again, inflation when you account for that. So that's not really too much of a jump there, but I do feel that at the $400 price tag, it will be challenging for Nintendo to go mass market, in my opinion. But I think this price point will be fine, at least at first, because I think Nintendo will be treating Switch 2 as more of a premium device, because they are also going to be supporting the Switch for the next couple years, even when Switch 2 is announced. And so this will better facilitate the transition. And also Nintendo will not have to have as big of a price drop once the Switch 2 is announced when it comes to the Switch OLED. If they drop it down $50 or $100, I think it would be a bit easier for them. Dr. Toto does also make mention of there having been a Pro model in the works, which is what we've heard in the past, and it's why a lot of people heard about the reports back in 2021, and then we just got the OLED instead. And here he's further corroborating that info that it did exist. Plans simply changed. Which is why you'll always have to take all of these things with a grain of salt. But perhaps the biggest little piece of info here is that he's suggesting that there won't be any sort of big gimmick for this new system, and that it's going to be mostly a follow-up to the Switch, which is still expected. We've heard about these different tech demos and different things like this. There's been no major hint in terms of some sort of major new gimmick like a big second screen or being like a giant VR virtual reality headset that taps into your brain. There's no sort of revolution like this. Now, this doesn't mean that there won't be some cool advancements on the system. I think they can have nice little improvements and gimmicks. But look at what the Switch is. That form factor has led to Nintendo having some of the greatest success they've ever had. I think this is something they should continue to do moving forward, and it looks like that's definitely what they are doing. But the Switch still has a variety of minor innovations packed into it. Look at the Joy-Cons and how they can flip into a sideways mode for co-op play, or how it has an infrared sensor or gyro controls, but can also slide into the Switch and allow it to function as a traditional handheld. And because of this flexibility of the Joy-Cons, we've seen all sorts of games, not just traditional games, but also motion control games like Skyward Sword HD, or fitness games like Switch Sports and Ring Fit Adventure, or just very wonky, weird games like we see with Nintendo Labo, or even a VR-style game with the VR variant of Nintendo Labo. There's a lot of applications for the Joy-Cons, and so I think Nintendo can iterate upon that, make those even better, get rid of drift, or even with the Switch itself. The Switch itself is using Nvidia's technology, supposedly not much changes from the Tegra X1, and so there wasn't a lot of research and development that went into this version of Nintendo's console compared to other systems. But with the Switch 2, Nintendo and Nvidia likely have been working on this for a while, and so they may just do a much better job of what the Switch was. The system's probably going to feel like more of a premium gaming experience, which is probably why the system is going to cost $400. If it's going to be more expensive, then you better get more out of it, right? Really, the big deal here, in my opinion, is going to be the games. What games Nintendo shows for this system, that's where we're going to get really excited. Seeing maybe an enhanced version of Metroid Prime 4, how the next Mario Kart game is going to look and run, or the next 3D Mario, or what's on the horizon for The Legend of Zelda, and beyond. I think Nintendo realized during the Switch era, it's all about the games. Focus on innovating with the games. And when you take a look at what the Switch can do, as I described earlier, it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. It can do so many different things, while still fitting into that core-centric gaming mold, which has appealed to the largest, most consistent, and reliable audience yet for Nintendo. And I think what this is going to facilitate is more of a focus on innovation and evolution with their games. You look at Breath of the Wild, you look at Kirby's Forgotten Land, you look at Metroid Dread, you look at Super Mario Odyssey, you look at Animal Crossing New Horizons, you look at Pikmin 4 or Luigi's Mansion 3. These games were the best selling for their respective series, and the list goes on. I just named a few, and they evolved their respective series. And I expect that trend to continue with the next system, and perhaps even more so, with more horsepower, games running at higher resolutions, with more going on with physics and just CPU intensive mechanics, significantly improved loading, and with just overall better hardware, games are going to look better, and they're going to be able to pull off even cooler mechanics. I can't wait to see what the Zelda team comes up with Zelda. If you look at what they accomplished with the physics and weather engine for Breath of the Wild and how they iterate upon that and all the crazy mechanics involved with Tears of the Kingdom, what sort of crazy evolutionary mechanics could they come up with for the next Zelda game? Made with far more powerful hardware that's probably going to give us a Zelda game that's going to completely blow our minds. That's likely years away, but that's where I think the real excitement's going to come, and I think Nintendo's just trying to position their next system to be just the best system for games. And that's where Nintendo's going to make their biggest splash. But going back to the relevance of this new info from Dr. Serkan Toto, When you factor in we just talked about how a lot of Japanese Nintendo developers are already officially on the record about being excited about a new Nintendo console in 2024, it seems like things are starting to tear apart at the seams here, or overflowing. An announcement may be upon us. Our friend Nintendo Prime added Zubitech on Twitter, asking them if they still think that there's going to be a big January event, because they are the source for the rumor, or at least part of the sourcing, on this big January event happening that would be Nintendo revealing a new console. And they stand by it, at least according to the source that they have. Now, maybe that source isn't very reliable, so I'm not necessarily expecting an announcement in January, but it's exciting to think about nonetheless. But what do you guys make of these latest predictions from Dr. Serkan Toto? Let me know in the comments below. This is Andres Restart, thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care.